just wanted to run quickly through how to seal a collage, how to do the first coat. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need an acrylic medium. I use gloss. You can use any brand, but I use Liquitex Gloss Acrylic Medium. I put a little bit of that onto some kind of a flat container. I like flat rather than deep. You need a brush with a soft bristle, like a very soft bristle. You don't want something with a coarse bristle because that's gonna leave brush strokes. I personally like this, which is a Blick Scholastic number 20. You put the acrylic medium into the flat dish so that you can get just a very superficial, just a tiny bit. So you're not actually coating the brush. You're just basically taking just a little bit. So you really get almost like 1/8 of an inch onto the brush. So we're not coating the brush. We're using the least possible amounts because the idea here is this, is that we want to do multiple thin layers is much better than one thick layer. One thick layer may never dry really fully. We're gonna basically go over the areas as lightly as possible. We're sort of just applying a very light coat. And I'd like to think of it as almost like that I'm doing a ghost painting on top of the collage. That what I do is I end up actually coating each piece, each element of the collage very thin. I'm barely touching this, you know? The more I touch it, the more brushstroke I'm gonna get, but it's very thin, okay? Now, if you're using printouts, like for example, let's say you're using printouts from your inkjet printer, there is the possibility that those printouts, that those elements of the printout are going to bleed. So I would do, if this, for example, were a printout, this statue of this woman were a printout, I would end up actually just coating the entire collage first and then doing the printout as the last piece that I coat with the acrylic medium. Because if it bleeds, I don't want to, if let's say this bleeds and I go like this across, it's going to bleed across my whole collage. So that's why I actually just paint each individual element first. And then on the second coat, that's when I go over each one, over the seams. Another word to the wise is to practice on something unimportant first. So if you've taken my class before, chances are you have one of these little cards where we just glue down a few pieces. So what I recommend that you do is, again, is you take the smallest amount of acrylic medium and then you just spread it across, right? You sort of follow, you know, and then you see what happens, okay? And then you'll notice like how hard to press. Notice I'm not pressing very hard. I'm actually very light. I'm not like putting it on, like painting it like a thick painting. I'm actually using a tiny, tiny bit, okay? So what you're gonna do is, if you've never done this before, you're gonna practice on your practice piece first. And then once you've gotten the hang of it and you see what happened and it looks pretty good, then you're gonna move to your piece that you spent a lot of time with, and then you're gonna follow the instructions